This is a message for all the psychics, shamans, healers, and spiritual teachers that have been called. I had a reminder about why we're doing this, and I have a message that Spirit has asked me to deliver. And it's interesting, I was fighting in a way because I didn't want this to sound like my arrogance. And at the same time, I could feel Spirit working through me and asking me to do something. And as we know, when Spirit says something, it's not a suggestion. Because any of us who have been doing this work for a long time, or even a short time, that when we are being guided to do something, that if we don't, the obstacles in our path are very great. So I had the opportunity to sort of connect recently with some newer souls that I haven't connected to personally in this lifetime. But their message was one that was sort of the fundamentals of every teaching or every great teacher I've ever had, was that we always have to remain humble in our path. And after years of searching and researching and working with Spirit and having so many wild stories on this journey, it's interesting how we can go full circle sometimes, where I've been feeling a call back to the basics, back to the fundamentals again, back to our original foundation teachings, to review that and to really sit with them for a while. And one of the things that has come up is about allowing everyone to have their own journey. We are all on our own unique journey. And even though we may have amassed vast amounts of wisdom and expertise in some areas, that doesn't mean we're done learning, growing at all, actually, because not one of us has all the answers. We're all pieces of the puzzle. We're not the entire puzzle. So we all hold a unique piece to the bigger picture, but we aren't the picture. And sometimes we have to remember that. And when we're looking and judging each other's opinions, each other's research, each other's path that they chose, it's very easy for us to get lost in our own opinions and our own ego of what we think is right or wrong. Because who are we to judge? That's kind of the point of a lot of our lessons along this journey, is to not judge ourselves too harshly, but also not to judge each other. It's always a humbling reminder. If we don't heed the reminders, and if we don't heed our inner guidance and the sort of core spiritual foundations of humility, gratitude, and love, the more we know, the more we're accountable as well on this path, and the greater the spanking, I call it, we get from the universe, our spirit guides, when we don't listen. Those of us who have the knowledge and have the know-how and the wherewithal, we are on a different level of accountability in the spiritual world and to ourselves. And that isn't to be taken lightly. So I've just noticed that there has been so much divide in the spiritual communities. I have taken great steps back and have kind of distanced myself for that reason, because it was no longer about people who were teachers and healers and shamans and guides showing, teaching, and healing, it became, or it has become, a competition of who's the best, who knows more, which is completely not the point. We have to remember that sometimes the Heoka spirit can come as what we may deem a false teacher. Those false and dark teachers, sometimes, actually most of the time, those ones are our greatest and most profound teachers. They're the ones that really come up against us. They make us rethink our position. They shatter our ego. They will even rip us down in order for us to learn that we are strong enough to rebuild ourselves again. So they can actually gift us, these dark teachers can actually gift us some of the most profound, soul developing, enlightening experiences that a loving, kind, merciful teacher could not give us at the end of the day. For those that, we may deem contrary, that we may view their opinions as shocking, or their energy is abrasive. And that can go both ways, whether you think that you're working in the light or the dark, or however you perceive it, your energy is always going to have a contrasting effect to those that you encounter. For those that are shadow healers, when we meet people that are still working very much from their shadow side and they're still very unconscious of the healing that needs to be done, they will attack. They become very angry. And we have to be prepared that that is the nature. And that is what happens when the two vibrations meet each other at different resonances. It creates kind of almost like a feedback. If you were to put two speakers together, we all know that horrible sound that happens. And that's kind of what happens when a healer that helps people work through their shadows meets those with their shadow sides that are still fairly healthy. So we have to remember not to take things so personal as well. And it can be very difficult because so many of us are empaths. So we feel the most subtlest energy that most people wouldn't feel. And it's amped up to the extreme in our energetic body. And so it can hit us incredibly hard. So I feel like that is their gift to us. As much as we can disturb their world, and we act as a mirror for each other to help trigger each other into even a greater evolution of healing and self-awareness in our journey to expanding our consciousness and going back to the one, the source. It is a journey, and truly it's not about the destination either. And sometimes we have to remember that this work is about the journey. It's not about the destination. That's eternal. It's hard for us to wrap our brains around it in this linear mind and time that we see things as being starts to finish, but there is no beginning and there is no end in a circle. So this is something that I have been reflecting on, and Spirit has been showing me through many little lessons of observation, of seeing some people that are in the circle of healers and shamans and psychics and empaths that really get it. They understand that we do this work because we're called to do it. some may say, oh, you're the chosen ones. No, no. We chose ourselves. Yes, Spirit does choose us to work with us. And if we choose to say yes and open that door to spiritual initiation, then in essence, we do get chosen, but we also choose ourselves to allow for that process to happen. And for those who don't know what spiritual initiation is, it is literally descending into the Shadowlands. It takes your whole life and turns it upside down, inside out. People will think that you are absolutely losing your mind, and you may even feel like it some days, because the spiritual initiation, you have to crack your consciousness open over and over and over again to purge the old belief systems. You have to experience things that shatter your entire world, and then you rebuild it over and over and over again in some cases. So spiritual initiations are not something that everybody gets, or I feel is able to handle, or would even want to. That's the soul's choice. But when you do walk through that door and you do call on Spirit and you do decide that you are going to walk this path is not to be taken lightly. And you will face ridicule. You will face tremendous tribulations on this path. But at the same time, the equal and opposite is also what you get blessed with. The blessings, the joy, the inner peace, the miracles that happen on a daily basis sometimes it's worth it. And for those who have been through this, just remember that even though sometimes we have to dive into the shadow world, the light that we get to experience is so much brighter and so much more beautiful than we can even imagine each time we emerge and we rise from the darkness. Do not judge the walk. Do not judge the process. And remember, it's not about the money. It's not about the monetary gain, that what you can get from your gifts. The reciprocity does come back to us. We just have to focus on the joy of our work. We have to focus on what we love to do. And why are we doing this? This is a selfless path, but yet an incredibly selfish path to walk at the same time. It's a bit of a paradox, because it's incredibly selfish of us to want to be so dedicated to something that we are willing to give up our life. We are willing to let go of people, places, things that are no longer in harmonic resonance with our greatest and highest good. And then after we do that, we have to be willing to do it again and again and again, if need be. And so yes, it's an incredibly selfish path. Where it's selfless is that we understand that we're doing this path not only for our own personal soul development, but this ripple effect of us shifting and harmonizing our energies. This ripple effect is for all of humanity. This is for our universe, our ancestors. This is for every place in our universe that our divine spark has touched. We create ripples, waves, and tsunamis of change in the seen and the unseen. In the spiritual world, things happen a lot faster than it does in the denser reality. the reality that we're currently experiencing right now as you hear this. So know that your work, your blood, sweat, and tears, and everything that you put out there, it is done in the etheric world. It just sometimes takes time to manifest itself into this physical world. And know you are always loved, cared, protected, and divinely guided by legions of beings in the seen and unseen that unconditionally care and support you always. Thank you for being here. I love you.